Breakfast.
Kim Napier.
ABC Northern Tasmania.
Well, here in Tasmania, we know how critical the NDIS is to the lives of our neighbours, our friends and family. With nearly half of Australians relying on some form of government support and the NDIS topping the spending list, talks of funding cuts is gaining political traction. But what does that mean, actually, for the people behind the numbers? Geddes is a registered nurse who's seen firsthand the impact of high-level, complex care needs and says we need to be asking much bigger questions before tightening the purse strings. Good morning to you, Di. Welcome to Friday.
Thank you. Good morning, Kim.
How reliant are families on NDIS support day to day?
Not only families, because families are very reliant on it for their offspring or brothers, mothers, whatever. But there's also some people who have no families, no one at all who can advocate for them or look after them. So their whole life depends on the NDIS.
Now, there's talk of introducing more stringent eligibility criteria. What sort of people, Di, might fall through the cracks if that happens?
Well, I think, from what I understand, it's going to be the people who have more psychosocial disabilities rather than physical and intellectual disabilities. And just transferring some of the funding back to where it used to be at the states for early intervention and for working with children before they go on to an NDIS plan, if indeed that's even necessary.
Yeah, well, you've highlighted the staggering cost of 24/7 care without NDIS support. What kind of emotional and financial strain are families preparing for?
Oh, well, they just don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty. At this stage, no one's come out and said that that sort of 24-hour care is going to be cut. But in my experience as a provider, we're seeing some people's plans being cut. Now, some people have a bit of fat around the edges that can be cut off, but some people don't. And I think everyone who's receiving NDIS assistance is really nervous at the moment.
So from your perspective, Di, is there a way to make the scheme more sustainable without putting vulnerable people at risk?
Well, I think one of the major things that has to happen is everyone has to stop putting the NDIS down, because the general public don't have a lot of experience with disability. They don't understand that if you're a quadriplegic, you can't not only walk, but you can't shower yourself, you can't use your bowels without intervention, you have a catheter that needs to be cared for, you can't cook for yourself, you can't clean for yourself, you can't turn over in bed, you can't get in and out of a wheelchair. So that needs 24-hour care. So we can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and say all NDIS needs to be cut. We have to look at each case and think, okay, or each group of cases, and say, okay, what can we cut there? And I think starting with the lower level disabilities is really the way to go. And then making sure that the fraud is out, which I think the government is trying their hardest to do. But there is still a lot of dodgy providers out there. And there's a lot of people who are getting more funding than they probably need, which is always the case when government funding's offered. There will be people who will take it and they don't really need it.
Yeah,
so we have to start looking at that.
Speaking of providers, a text to say, are they charging too much?
Well, most providers charge. The NDIS put out a price guide, and all providers probably charge that exact amount the NDIS say you should charge. There are different, for us, we only do direct care. We don't do allied health or anything. Allied health is very expensive. Direct care, by the time you pay the wages of the person and all the insurance and the massive amount of compliance for providers, there's not a lot left over. We have an extra layer of care. We do nursing oversight for free, but I have to pay those nurses, but we don't pass that charge on. So our profit is minimal. But some people have none of that. Some people don't have a nurse working in the organisation. So they're making a lot of money because they're just paying the workers and then pocketing the rest.
Well, sum it up for us finally, Di. What would you say to those who view the NDIS as a bloated system ripe for cuts? What aren't they seeing?
Well, they're not seeing that people need care, and it's very easy to turn your back on that. And I'm not saying that it doesn't need trimming down. It absolutely does. But I think just remember there's humans at the end of it, and that will change people's lives drastically and lead to the end of people's lives if we got rid of the NDIS, without a doubt.
Nice to talk with you, Di. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too, Kim. Thanks for your time.
Geddes,